You played at Furman University. Obviously, most college athletes go on into careers other than coaching. When did you first decide that this is what you wanted to do, and what drew you to the idea of coaching?
I knew I wanted to be a coach from when I was a young kid. My dad was a high school football coach, and my twin brother and I, we spent every single one of our afternoons at Dad's practices. Throwing the football or tackling the dummies, or when it was picking up stuff, picking up equipment for the coaches. We spent all our afternoons there, just seeing how my dad interacted with those players and how those coaches interacted with all those players is what really drew me to the profession. And so I knew before I went to college that I wanted to be a coach. I didn't know what level. I figured I just wanted to be a high school coach, and I did that for a year and found out quick that I didn't want to teach for the rest of my life. So that's when I took a chance and took a pay cut, took a big pay cut to go to Division II, and went from Division II to being a GA, and took an even bigger pay cut from that. And my dad used to always tell me, he's like, son, every job you take, you're supposed to make more money, not less money. He's like, you're going the wrong direction. But I had a vision, and I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and how, the level I wanted to get to, which was to be a major Division I coach, and blessed to be here.
What kind of player were you? Did you draw comparisons to others, or if you were scouting against the Furman offense, how would you describe Justin Stepp, the player?
My coaches at Furman used to say I had deceptive speed. I was a first down and touchdowns kind of guy. I could get you first downs, and then I was a double move touchdown kind of guy. And I guess to sum my athletic ability up, I had a pro scout come through the facility one day and asked me if I wanted to play in the NFL, and I said, I think I'm just going to go ahead and get into coaching. And he said, well, if you'd have come out in the mid-'80s, you'd have been a first-round pick. I said, well, I guess that's good. I'll take that as a compliment. So.
Are there any characteristics or traits about the way you went about your preparation and your business as a player that now are evident in the way you go about your job as a coach?
Oh yeah, absolutely. My parents and I were talking about that this weekend, being out here and just talking to them about some of the players and just how I interact with them. And my one thing when I played, I worked. If I was going to do anything, I was going to do it as hard as I possibly could. I didn't have I'm going to just halfway go into this thing and see what I was full throttle, and that's the only way I know how to do anything. And I think that's why I'm 31 in singles, because I knew exactly where I wanted to get to, and I didn't want a girlfriend, I didn't want to get married, I didn't want to have kids. I wanted to be a college football coach, and that's the way I approached football. I wanted to be if I was going to do it, I was going to do it as hard as I possibly could and see what I squeezed I really truly in my heart feel like I squeezed every drip, every bit of ability God gave me to play football. I squeezed it all out. So,
before you got to SMU, you coached receivers at Appalachian State.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, you coached at Clemson, where you worked with receivers and tight ends and running backs and quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Was there ever any interest in becoming a position coach at one of those other spots, or did you always want to coach the same position you played?
I always wanted to coach the same position I played. Obviously, I loved, when I first got there, Billy Napier, who I played with, he's the receiver coach at Alabama now. I played with him at Furman. He was my host on my visit. He's the reason why I got to Clemson. And the year I worked with him in quarterbacks, I liked that. My twin brother was a quarterback, but my passion is playing the wide receiver spot. And just all the things that come with that spot, I feel like I can really relate to those kids, and because those are the ones, those we get labeled as prima donnas sometimes. But those are the ones that got the good personalities, I think. And as far as interacting with those kids during practice and after practice, those are the ones that always have the most personality. Sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's a bad thing, but it's the thing that I feel like I can manage pretty well as far as managing that room.
Is the prima donna label not fair?
In some cases, it is unbelievably fair. In some cases, it's not.
You had a very good run at Appalachian State, where several of your players earned all Southern Conference honors, and one of them, Sean Price, earned All-America recognition after setting FCS records freshman records for catches and receiving yards. Was it hard to leave that team?
It was. The two seniors that I had, one of them was playing, Tony Washington's playing for the Jaguars, and Andrew Peacock's playing for the Detroit Lions. Those two were unbelievable guys. I'm just going to tell you, probably two of the best kids I'll probably ever coach in my life. And when I got there, one of them playing quarterback, and no one really didn't know how to play the wide receiver position, and just to watch that kid grow in that position, and just great kids. Very easy to coach, and that's what we had at App. So by the time I left, I had 3 years, and 90% of those receivers, I had 16 receivers, and 90% of them, outside of the 3 seniors that I had recruited. So, it took me, when I told them I was leaving, it took me, I started at 5, and I think I left at 9. You know, when I was in that meeting, it wasn't a dry eye in the room, because I have no problem telling you I love those kids. There hadn't been a week that's gone by where I hadn't called or talked to at least one of those guys in that room. So that's how close we were, and you know that's why I do this. It's not for the money. It's to build relationships with these kids and to help them grow as young men. Obviously, to help them grow as football players, but football is just a little bit of you know the rest of their life, just a little piece. So it's you know helping these kids be ready for the real world when they get done.
So Chad Morris gets hired in December to be the next coach at SMU. You obviously knew him from having spent time with him at Clemson before you went to App.
Mm-hmm.
Did he reach out to you and say, I need a wide receivers coach? Did you call him and say, I want to be on your staff? How did that hiring process go?
Oh, Chad and I, Coach Morris and I, we've been close, you know, ever since I left Clemson. And, you know, the funny story about the whole Appalachian State thing is I'll never forget I was at a Clemson-Duke basketball game. And Scott Satterfield, who's now the head coach at App, you know, was coming back to – he had been at FIU for the past 2 years, and he came to Clemson to learn the offense one day. And, you know, I was a GA, and you know I had a bunch of stuff going on, didn't have time to meet with him. And Coach Morris, he wasn't going to meet with him. And he said, hey, there's a guy out there that wants to talk about offense. You need to go spend some time with him. I was like, man, you got to be kidding me. Spent time with the guy. You know, a year later, he goes to App to go back to be the offensive coordinator and kind of the head coach in waiting kind of deal. Called me at the Clemson Duke basketball game, and I told him, Coach, man, I got a great relationship with Coach Morris. You know, I feel like he ain't gonna be here very long, and I'm gonna stick around with him and kind of see where this thing goes. Well, they got in touch with Coach Morris, and you know, they said, hey, the only reason why this kid's not taking this job is because he doesn't want to leave you. And you know, Coach Morris pulled me in the next day. We sat and talked, and he said, hey, you want to do anything? You want to do more for me in the next 8 months or 10 months or 12 months if you stay a whole another year than you've done in these first 6 months. You need to go get some experience, go recruit. He's like, you can go work at the Bojangles down in Central, and when this thing happens one year, I'm gonna come hire you. So, and that's what gave me the piece to go to Appalachian and work for an unbelievable guy, Jerry Moore, who's a Texas guy. You know, he worked at SMU for 7 years. He was a head guy at Texas Tech. I mean, just unbelievable. It's like going to work for your granddad every day and learn. I mean, the guy won. He had one losing season in 24 years, 3 national championships back to back to back. 10 out of the last 11 conference championships. We won the conference championship my first year there. I mean, it was just an unbelievable program. And those kids played. I played against them when I was in Furman. That team always played hard. And we won 7 games in the Sun Belt, finished 3rd in that conference, and with 1 AA players. You know, but with those kids just played hard. And you know, Chad he kind of kept in touch with me during the season. And you know, obviously, anytime we talked, I never brought it up. You know, because I'm just praying he takes me. You know, and I guess I'll find out soon enough. And sure enough, they played South Carolina the same day we played at Idaho at home. And my phone rang about 11 o'clock that night. He said, I need you on a plane tomorrow. I said, yes, sir. And he said, pack for 2 weeks. I'm 31 years old, and I fit everything I had in 2 duffel bags. So I don't have any furniture. All I have is clothes. So I threw all my stuff in the bag, and that's it.
You and the rest of the staff had a short window of time in which to put together a recruiting class, and so you, as Coach Morris said, you guys all hit the ground running. Mm-hmm. How is it different recruiting for SMU as opposed to recruiting for Appalachian State or Clemson?
You know, I'll start with Appalachian State. It was so hard for us to get kids to Appalachian State. And if we got them to campus and we got them in that facility, because they have unbelievable facilities, we usually had a pretty good shot. But not many kids go to Boone, North Carolina. Not many kids want to be around somewhere where it starts snowing in October. You know, so that was the tough part of it. You know, but we had a good product. It was just getting kids there to see it. You know, Clemson, you know, those guys are pretty much getting. At this point, you know, before Coach Morris got there, it wasn't like that. You know, when Coach Morris came in and this offense came in, you know, it was tough to get a big playmaker wide receiver. It was tough to get a good running back. You know, it was tough to get one of the best quarterbacks in the country. Now with this offense, you know, they're pretty much they can get whoever they want there. You know, just about. Here at SMU, the unbelievable thing here is that we have such a wide, you know, prospect. You know, everybody's so close, and when you go 10 miles and recruit your whole class. And Coach Morris used to tell me that, and I used to never believe it. And I came here, and after 2 weeks of recruiting, I was like, good. I hadn't stayed in a hotel once, and I've seen unbelievable talent, you know. And And that's the thing. We're so close, and we're in one of the best cities in the country where we can get kids to come here. It's not a 3-hour drive up the mountains in the snow. You're coming to one of the best cities in America, and one of the biggest metroplexes, one of the biggest Fortune 500 places for companies and stuff like that. I mean, it's a little bit easier to get kids here, you know. And obviously with Coach Morris's name, you know, it's a little bit easier for an offensive kid to come here, you know. I mean, for especially wide receivers, you talk about Sammy Watkins, DeAndre Hopkins, Martavis Bryant, Jerron Brown, guys like that. Artavis Scott, who's a freshman at Clemson, that's probably going to be the next big one to come out of that place. You know, this offense is proven. You know, a lot of people can say, "Hey, we're going to get you to the NFL." This offense is proven. It'll get a wide receiver to the NFL. So I think that's really exciting for kids around here. Helps me a lot, you know, to go in there and sell that.
You worked with Coach Morris at Clemson. Mm-hmm. Now you've got 3-4 months with him here. Mm-hmm. Is there any difference between Coach Morris, the offensive coordinator, and Coach Morris, the head coach?
No, he still doesn't sleep. You know, I promise you, the guy doesn't have an off button. You know, the one thing I've noticed about him is that he's starting to spend a lot more time with the defensive guys, and to watch him. The thing I like is to watch him interact with the defensive players. Because at Clemson, the only thing I ever saw him do was interact with the offense. Every now and then he'd talk to the defensive guys, but just to watch him build those relationships with those defensive guys and watching him get those defensive kids to believe in him and what we're going to do on offense has been the best part about it. And you know, he's an unbelievable guy. Obviously, he says football is what we do. It's not who he is. It's not who any of us are. And I think those kids realize that. I think those kids realize that we're about after from December to now. I think they finally realized that, you know, football is just a little piece of what they do in their life. And if all they get out of us is to be a better football player, then we failed them as coaches. We want to help them be better men, better fathers, better husbands whenever they get out of here. And you know, and that's what I really, really, really enjoyed watching Coach Morris do that with this entire football team. Not just the offense, but the entire football team, the entire staff, the entire community. Really showing, you know, the whole school and the whole community just, you know, what all he's about.
Other than working with him again, what appealed to you most about coming to SMU?
You know, being in a big city was pretty exciting. I mean, I'm from a small town in Pillsbury, South Carolina. I mean, I graduated with 82 kids. We have one stoplight. It's actually just not a stoplight. The closest fast food joint's 25 miles away. You know, then going to Greenville, South Carolina to play football at Furman was a little bit bigger. Then I went to Charlotte, you know, to teach that 1 year, and then went back to Clemson, which was a smaller place, then to Appalachian, which is a really small place. So this is, it's a whole new world out here. I mean, the traffic's unbelievable, but there's so much stuff to do, and that was appealing to me, and a chance to rebuild this program. You know, I tell recruits all the time, anybody can go to a winning program. It'd have been easy for me to get a job at South Carolina or Clemson, or not easy to get a job, but, you know, it's easy to go in there and to take a program that's winning. But to come here and try to change the culture and change the way people view this program, not just here in Dallas, but around the country, is something that I think was pretty special. So,
when you got here, you inherited the returning receivers. How much time did you spend watching film of what they did last year as a way of starting to get to know them?
We watched 5 minutes of the UConn game back there in the office, and that's it. Because I wanted to put my stamp on these kids. You know, I didn't talk to anybody about, hey, what are these kids like? Let me talk to me about each one of these kids. You know, I didn't do any of that. I wanted to form my own opinions of these kids, and I wanted to watch them for myself. And now, because I don't think it was really fair to them, you know, to go back and judge them on what they did last year, because they didn't have a leader. And you know, I don't know any of those guys that were on that staff, but you know, I don't know how much they were getting coached, and how much everybody was putting as much as they could into those kids. You know, given the situation that all of them didn't know if they were going to be here. You know, so I didn't watch a single down. I didn't watch a single take. I watched 5 minutes, and half of that was run plays. So, and after that, we cut it off. We said, guys, let's put our stamp on them. Let's go see what we got.
So, were those first meetings with your players? Did you jump into X's and O's and talking about the offense right away, or was it getting to know them personally and building relationships with the players?
Yeah, the first meeting was them getting to know me. And I just kind of told them about who I was. I said, let's just open it up for questions. Any questions you guys got, let's start firing them off. You know, hey, that's why I'm here. I want you guys to get to know me. And you know, and as they got to know me, you know, every now and then they'd come up here when I was off the road. You know, on the weekends for official visits, they'd pop in and say hey, and just, you know, you start to get to build that relationship. You know, and the hard thing is it's just building this relationship, because you can't come in here and expect these kids to trust you. You know, it's just like they don't expect me to come in here and trust them right off the bat either. All we told them to do was just give us a chance. If you give us a chance, we'll make this thing. It'll be the best year of your life in football. And I think they have. I think we got, but the vast majority of these guys are buying in. There's been some that haven't bought in, and they're not here anymore. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to get good players in here. We start tomorrow. We're going to get good players in here. So we've had over 150, 200 recruits every Saturday here, watching the practice, watching the scrimmage. There's an excitement about this place. Now we obviously got to go win some games, but we're going to get good players, and I think these guys realize that, hey, these guys are going to bring some kids in here. So we're going to start working. We're going to believe in these guys. We're going to buy in and going to help turn this thing around.
Do older players have any kind of a leg up with you as far as playing time, considering they're a little more mature, a little more experienced, physically more mature, or do you look at it like every receiver who shows up in August is a freshman?
Yeah, everybody that shows up, and walking out of this spring, there's no receiver that has a spot. There's obviously guys like Cortland Sutton who, showed out this spring. But Cortland's got he's I told him the other day, I feel like I'm a potter and I just got a fresh thing of clay, and I'm about to mold him into one of the best receivers in this conference, because he's an all-conference player, no doubt. Eventually an All-American, if he stays healthy and does everything he's supposed to do. He's a great kid too. But even him, he needs somebody to push him. When you get guys in here that can push each other for jobs, and you're going to be held accountable, and there's somebody there that can take your job, that's when you come to work every day. Not in a walking on eggshells kind of way, but hey, I got this guy behind me, he's pushing me, I gotta show up, I gotta perform. Darius Joseph, Dijo, is another one that he'll be a senior, 5th-year senior, and obviously he's a big, strong kid, but he doesn't have that 5-man position locked up. He drops some balls this spring, but he plays with unbelievable effort. And I feel about him and Cortland, I feel the best about those two, understanding what I have in those two. But by any means, if one of them freshmen that come here, if they're one of the best, it's our job to put the best 11 on the field. And if one of those freshmen are the best 11, then they'll be on the field. If they're not, then we'll find a way to make it with what we got.
Okay, you just mentioned the two players I was going to ask you about first. Darius Joseph 2 years ago caught over 100 passes. Mm-hmm. And when I talked to him a couple of weeks ago, he said his role in this offense is as the occupy guy, because a lot of balls go to the outside guys, Cortland and Jeremiah Gaines or whoever is on the field at the time. Was that a hard sell with Darius to make him into an occupy guy after being a really featured part of this offense?
No, not really. I'm going to tell you right now that he's one of the best kids I've ever been around. He's a yes sir, no sir guy. Gosh, I'm sorry about that. I guess I probably should have put that on the bottom right. Darius he's a yes sir, no sir guy. He didn't give me one problem since I've been here. He's bought into his role. He's a bigger, more physical kid. And in this offense, we're going to be a downhill power run for football team first. And he's going to have to do a lot of blocking. Where Darius gets helped out is if you get a 9-man to the boundary that is a one-on-one guy that can win a lot of one-on-ones, they got to roll a safety over the top. And then you get a 2-man to the field like Sammy Watkins or Artavis Scott, that can go and get deep balls and stuff like that. Now they got to put a safety over the top of him. Now you get your 5-man matched up with a linebacker. And that's where we got to get to for him and for Jeremiah Gaines playing a 3-back position. Is we got to get some guys on the outside that can run, and that'll help Darius out. But he's going to be more of his passes are off the play action game and the vertical passing game. But that 5-man position can catch a ton of balls, and we can do a lot of stuff with him. So that's what we tried to show him. Hey, you're not just a guy that's going to go in there and block. A lot of his stuff this spring was occupying safeties and stuff, but you look at it, we got maybe 60% of this offense in, and it's based down base plays. So there's a lot more we can do with it to help him out and to get him the football more. Obviously, you got to start from scratch, and we had about 7 days of install done before spring practice started. We had it all scripted, we had it all installed, and we got about day 4, and smoke was coming off. It's coming out of ears, and we fogged up the whole city of Dallas one day. So we had to slow it down because you don't want to just get out there and throw it against the wall and see what sticks. We put a lot up there, a lot of it wasn't sticking. So we're just going to we said, hey, let's just take the rest of this spring. Let's get good at what we want to do, just base stuff. And the kids did. They got better as we went. But there's a lot more we can do.
The other guy you mentioned, Cortland Sutton, when you watching you guys practice this spring or watching Clemson's offense on TV, It's obvious Coach Morris likes to throw some vertical passes downfield, and most of the people who were here Saturday, I think, left really impressed with Cortland Sutton. He had a few touchdowns, he had a bunch of catches, but those are people who don't know all of his assignments on every play like you do. Was he as impressive to you as he is to media and fans who watch him?
When he's fresh, yeah, very impressive. You know, and I'll go back to this. The best thing about Cortland Sutton is you can coach him as hard as you possibly can, and he loves it. He can't get enough of it. He's a very coachable kid, and one of the best kids I've ever been around. I mean, he's a rare kind of kid, personality-wise. You know, physically, he's got. I mean, I honestly can't believe he's just a freshman. You know, and I hate he got hurt, but I'm so glad I get 4 years with that kid because he's very raw in the position. You can tell he hasn't been coached on a lot of stuff, releases and body position. And Cortland's biggest thing is he has a tendency to play high, but I think he plays high because he gets tired. Why does he get tired? Because, you know, there were times where he was the only 9-man we had at practice. Just because of class schedules and the way we did spring practice in the afternoons and stuff like that. There were days where I went through an entire practice with 5 wideouts, you know, for 3 positions, but you'd like to have at least 2 groups. I didn't have enough for 2 groups, and it was his position. I didn't have a second guy. But the kid never complained. Now, he looked awful doing some stuff, but, I mean, it's because it was about his, 21st, 22nd play in a row, and I'd finally, just trying to find a way to rotate. Because it takes a special kid, a bigger body kid, to play that 9-man, that boundary receiver. And he's really the only one outside of Dejo that we have. But Dejo had to go to class. Then Ace Holloman got hurt. He had a concussion, and so he had to miss practice. So we didn't have anybody to help him out. But his potentials is off the charts. And the best part about it is he's got great character. And you got a kid with good character and unbelievable work ethic, that's when you got a chance to have something special, and that's what Cortland Sutton is.
Another guy whose name keeps coming up when talking to teammates is Jeremiah Gaines. And they keep saying he can do everything. He can run deep balls. He can run over the middle. He's big and strong. He can block. How many different ways do you envision using him in the fall?
Every one of those. Just like Dwayne Allen. Dwayne Allen plays for the Indianapolis Colts. He was a pro-style tight end in that old offense that we ran at Clemson. And Coach Morris came in here, and everybody, he's like, I heard he doesn't even use the tight end. I said, Dwayne, I promise you, he's going to find a way to use you. And he goes and has the best year he ever had at Clemson, and now he's playing for the Colts. Jeremiah is a kid that played receiver, so he can run the vertical passing game. He can run all the routes that we ask you to, but he's also physical enough to get in there and block, and that's what that 3-back position has to do. But when you got a guy that can do all that stuff on the passing game wise, but can also get in there and do the run game stuff, that's when you get into matchups. Now people can't personnel you and put a nickel in there when you go 4 wides. We could go 4 wides with Jeremiah, and now they got to leave a linebacker in there or safety in there because we can motion into the backfield and run power or counter or zone. So he gives you a lot of matchup problems, a lot of things we can do with him. Again, another one of those kids that has unbelievable character and unbelievable work ethic, and those are the kind that have a chance to be pretty special.
You come in this year, and again, you're new to all these players. The players are all new to you. And some coaches don't like the idea of playing freshmen. Mm-hmm. They want to give them a year to study and learn the system and get more mature and stronger. You're okay with rolling freshmen out there next year if they're the best guy here, right?
Absolutely. I had to do it at App. I did it with Sean Price at App. He was an All-American. I did it last year. I tried so hard last year to redshirt Shaden Metters, a kid from South Carolina that had 33 catches, 33 touchdowns his senior year. And I thought for sure before he got there I was going to play him his freshman year. He got sick during 2-a-days, didn't have a great camp, didn't really start out very good in the fall. About the 3rd game we were struggling, so I said, hey, I went to him and said, Shaden, you don't have to do it, but I'm going to roll you out there Saturday. And I was like, you're going to play. You might not play 30, 40 plays, but you're going to get at least 20 plays. I'll make sure you get 20 plays. And he said, Coach, I'm in. Let's go. Let's roll. And I'll be down here. That Jugger didn't have an unbelievable year last year as a freshman. It's our job to coach him up. It's our job to make sure they're in the right positions. But we'll never put a kid out there if I feel like he can't contribute, he can't be better at what we're playing with, or he's not prepared. Shaden came along. We put him out on a scout team, and he went down there and performed, and Coach was like, Coach, I promise you, he can help us. He's better than some of what we're playing with right now. And we rolled him out there, and he was just one of those. And when the lights came on, he was a completely different person. So, yeah, if they're one of the best ones that we have, we got to play them. because we're missing that explosiveness right now. That's what we're missing. That guy that can just take the top off of it and just get everybody in the stands. Every time he touches it to stand up, that's what we're missing right now. But we got a couple that are coming in that can do it.
Ever since you guys have been hired, we've heard about how everything's going to be done extremely fast, tempo, pace, whatever the word is of the day. Some coaches talk about getting fresh legs in all the time and rotating players almost like lines on a hockey team or something. And there have been other coaches who will take their starters and leave them out there because they're the best guys and run them until they drop. How do you feel about, do you want to rotate guys? Do you want to play your starters all day long? And how does subbing players in and out affect the tempo that you and Coach Morris are trying to put together?
It obviously affects the tempo. As far as, we substitute, they got to stand on the ball. We want to go as fast as we possibly can. The only time I'll substitute is if we run a vertical passing game, a vertical concept where all three of my receivers run deep, and they've been about 3-4 plays in a row. And the fifth play they run deep, I'll throw 3 new guys in there. Because the only way this offense works is if you play as fast as you possibly can. But to play as fast as you possibly can, you gotta have some fresh legs on the outside. So we will rotate. I'd like to have 8 guys that I can count on, that I can put in there. That's ideal. Will we be there this fall? I don't know. I hope so. But because that's what's going to make Cortland Sutton an all-conference player. Is if he gets somebody out there that can help him on the other side, and he gets somebody that can help him and give him a blow and give him a couple plays here and there. That's what happened to Sammy. Sammy when he got to his freshman year, we just burned him out. And sophomore year had a little bit of a down year, and then he got some help his junior year, and no, his first round pick. So you just try to find a way to keep these guys fresh. Because my guys, we're gonna run. I mean, Cortland Sutton, the first practice of spring ball, went over 8,000 yards. We got the catapult system where we keep up with it. He went over 8,000 yards in a practice. So just imagine that. So if that's in practice, imagine what he's doing in a game. But we want to put these guys in situations in practice to where they get to Saturdays, and it is easy. I mean, it's easy. And that's what I told these guys this spring, because the most receivers we ever had was 6. So the 6th at practice, I told them, I said, hey, guys, we did a Division I practice with 6 guys the entire spring. And imagine how easy it's going to be if we go 3 plays down there, score, and all of a sudden you're on the bench. Now you're getting some water, and then you roll back out there. But eventually it'll catch up to them. So we got to develop some depth. That's where we're at right now. We got to develop depth. But yes, we will rotate. Not as much as a lot of other places, because we do want to go fast. But you're going to have to rotate your receivers, especially if you throw as much passing game and vertical passing game and play action passing game as we do.
The receivers who you've signed who are coming in next year, I think all came to some spring practices. Did that surprise you to see those guys show up, and without being able to get out on the field and run routes with you, how much could they have learned by being there watching you teach?
The best thing that they learned is that they could come here and contribute. I told them every day, I said, hey, every Saturday you come here and you watch us and you watch that we don't have any depth and we don't have that big play guy right now outside of Cortland. I'd go home and I would absolutely kill it. If it was me, I'd go home and work harder than I ever did. And if I ever got towards the end of the week where I didn't really understand what I was working for, I'd go back the next Saturday. So I told him, I challenged him, said, hey, I'll find out who's committed, who really wants to come in here and make a difference. By how many times you show up, how many times you come over and ask me, Coach, man, teach me about this, teach me about that. And every one of them did. And that's what I'm impressed with. I think a lot of these kids that we're bringing in is they're special kids. They're going to be kids that want to be part of something special, want to help turn this thing around. And they proved that to me, especially with our receivers coming over and showing up this spring.
Now that spring ball's over and you've had at least a minute or two to exhale and relax, what are your overall thoughts about the way your guys progressed through the spring, just learning your expectations and starting to wrap their heads around the offense?
I'm pleased. When Darius Joseph, Adijo, a senior, like you said, had caught over 100 balls, I was real close to Coach Jones and that staff. And when he goes out there and practices harder than anybody I got, that shows me that these guys are kind of buying in. Very pleased with their effort. My biggest worry is that I was going to have to come in here and coach these guys on how to play without the football. But it took 2 practices, and I think after 2 practices they got the idea, or they got the point. Hey, these guys, we're going to play without football. We're going to block. We're going to chase the ball down the field, because if we hit a big play, we're running a fight. We're running a quick count next play. So I got to chase the football. I don't have a choice. But I'm pleased with them. You know, they got better as we went. We're still a long way from where we need to be. But and I've also only had 15 practices with them. You know, 14 really, because I didn't really get to work with them too much during the spring game. But I'm pleased with them. We're going to be okay. You know, we told them the other day, you know, we're all we got, but we're all we need. You know, what we had in that team room that last day is all we got, but it's all we need. We can win ball games with that team. So.
Going into your first season at SMU or your first season at Appalachian State or Clemson, does it feel different when it's your first year, or do you get equally excited and anxious looking forward to every season?
Oh, it's football season. I love it. I'll sit at the beach. I'll get a couple weeks where I go to the beach with my family, and I'll sit at the beach and I'll find a book, some kind of motivational book, and that's what I'll use that year with my kids on every Friday on reminder meetings, and just find some way to keep things fresh for these kids. I'll go visit another university or maybe an NFL guy and talk to them about their individuals, so just to change my individual some, so it's not monotonous for these kids, and just try to better myself. You know, I ask these kids to keep learning. I want to keep learning too, and build my knowledge base and what I know about the position, and try to learn as much as I can to help these guys. But I mean, when football season rolls around, man, it's the best time of the year. So my biggest worry is how I'm gonna make it through 2 days out here, because I'm coming from somewhere where it's about 85 maybe, and with a nice cool breeze. So you know, I'm trying to figure out how I'm gonna get adjusted to this heat.
You're not ready for 105?
Not yet. 'Cause that spring game was hot to me Saturday, and everybody said, "Hey, this is a good day." So it's going to be completely different. So, and Coach Moore said it is different than South Carolina heat too. So, because I lived in Columbia, which is a pretty hot place. You know, everybody says it's the screen door to hell. So, he said it's hotter out here. So I can't imagine. But I'm excited about it. So we'll see. I'm excited to see how far in this first year we can take these kids, because I don't think they have a clue how good they can be, and I don't think anybody in the country has a clue how good we're going to be. So that's what I'm excited about.